It's the Everyone Gets a Trophy football podcast presented by theyuppieyinzer.com. We're back, episode 4, jumping over to the AFC North. We've done the AFC East, the NFC East, most recently the NFC North. Now it's time to hit up the AFC North. All episodes can be found on theyuppieyinzer.com. We're on iTunes. We're on Google Play. This year we've added YouTube. We've always been on Stitcher. So assuming you're hearing me now, you've probably checked out one of these sites. If you want to check out any others, please do. Comment. Join the conversation on Twitter at Trophy Podcast. Once again, super producer Howard's done it. He keeps adding more and more content. If you didn't think we were dense enough in the first 3 episodes, this one's going to be a doozy. We got lots to cover, not a lot of time to cover it. So let's jump into it with the first team. When you think AFC North, you think the Pittsburgh Steelers. The AFC's perennial bridesmaid in the last decade. They're always able to win 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games, but never seemingly able to get over that hump and back to the Super Bowl since winning Super Bowl 43 in 2009. In that time, the Steelers 1-6 versus the Patriots. If they want to make that jump, they need to get over that New England hurdle. The door could be closing on this group of talent. Perhaps we're watching the final year of the Killer Bees. If ever there was going to be a year, this has to be the year. I hate to start the Steelers preview off with the Patriots, but that's what the entire season's going to be about. Let's dive into the Steelers and see if they have a chance. Mike Tomlin's back. During the offseason, shipped out offensive coordinator Todd Haley. Todd Haley, guy who's butted heads with quarterback Big Ben since 2012. Even got so bad at one point, quarterback coach Randy Fichtner had to leave his post in the press box, come down and serve as a buffer between the two. Yes, the Steelers put up points during Haley's tenure, but he was an arrogant play caller who too often relied on guys going one-on-one to win games, rather than game planning and scheming versus opponents. We saw it in the playoffs versus Jacksonville, and unfortunately for the Steelers, the Jags personnel was ready for it. Todd Haley's game planning and game day decisions were questionable, but that's last year's problem. On to 2018. Randy Fichtner comes down from that box to coordinate the offense this season, has a great relationship with Ben Roethlisberger, but some criticize Fichtner as being Big Ben's puppet, suggesting Ben may be the de facto offensive coordinator. Fichtner last called plays in 2006 when he was with Memphis running an up-tempo offense before it was the cool thing across football. Polar opposite approach from Todd Haley. Randy Fichtner's a player's coach. He's going to scheme up guys for contribution rather than just relying on talent. Go back to last year, the Steelers 8-2 in one-score games, 5-1 in field goal games. They cut a lot of games entirely too close, generally looked ahead on their schedule, playing down to competition in the first half, and then trying to turn it on to win in the second half. In Week 6 last year, the Steelers saw the Chiefs. They laid an egg in Week 5 at home against the Jaguars. When the schedule first came out, they circled the Patriots in Week 15. Then in Week 14, they fell behind to the Ravens 31-20, needing an exciting comeback to finish the game and win 39-38. The key for any team to have a Super Bowl run, always going to be health. For the Steelers, 1 year Le'Veon Bell was injured. Another was Bell and Antonio Brown. Le'Veon Bell was hurt again. Last year, the team was finally healthy, but still couldn't shake the Jaguars. At quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, 36 years old, he wanted to run more no huddle in 2017. Todd Haley did not, but he's gone. So look for that up-tempo offense with the Ben-Fichtner duo. Going next level, let's go back to 2017. Looking in the first half, we're cutting out the second half. You see prevent defenses. Teams are playing different from behind. In the first half, running no-huddle offense, Big Ben passer rating 72. When the Steelers huddled up, Ben's passer rating increased to 95. Now certainly there are times when going up-tempo to catch the defense out of position is a good idea, but just to go no-huddle doesn't seem to work for Ben Roethlisberger. We'll see how they may balance it out in 2018. As we mentioned, Ben is entering his age 36 season. Fun fact, hasn't had a quarterback sneak since 2015. Yes, the guy nicknamed Big Ben has not had a quarterback sneak since 2015. Meanwhile, up north, Tom Brady, 5 years his senior, mind you, has made a living off quarterback sneaks and converting that 1 yard to go situation. Steelers may have found their heir apparent to Ben Roethlisberger in the 3rd round, drafted Mason Rudolph out of Oklahoma State. Could have been a first rounder. We even saw him mocked in some first rounds around February, so the Steelers grabbing him in the 3rd round could be a steal. At running back, Mr. Holdout, Le'Veon Bell, a guy who hasn't played in too many playoff games in the last few years. Ironic because the Steelers have the 2nd longest playoff streak in the NFL. Le'Veon's going to need to be fresh come January. However, we also need him in camp to get into shape. Currently in the 2nd straight year, the franchise tag Bell is putting out rap singles instead of practicing with his team in preseason. Go back to last year when he did it. In week 1, only had 10 carries for 32 yards, down from his average the rest of the season, 20 carries, 84 yards. Having run out of franchise tags and entering a contract season, could we see the Steelers use Le'Veon Bell the same way the Cowboys used DeMarco Murray in his contract year and run him into the ground? Something to monitor for 2018, especially considering we've seen Bell run out of gas in the playoffs already. For historical purposes, 380 carries is usually the death mark for running backs. That was always the number when determining in fantasy football if you should draft a running back coming off a big year. 90% of the time it's accurate. The good news in 2017, Le'Veon Bell only had 321 carries. Again, that death mark, 380 carries. 2017, Le'Veon Bell, 321 carries. Bad news, he played a big part in the passing game, catching another 85 balls, totaling 406 touches, ton of wear and tear. You can obviously see why Le'Veon Bell wants to get paid as these miles continue to pile up. Backing him up, James Conner, what a story. Grows up in Erie, goes down the road to play college ball at Pitt. Freshman year explodes, wins the Caesar Bowl MVP. Sophomore season, 1,700 rush yards. That's an ACC record with 26 rushing touchdowns. Runs away with ACC Player of the Year. Bad news year 3, suffers a torn MCL in Pitt's opener. And then during the rehab, diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Recovers in a year. He's back for another 1,000-yard, 16-touchdown season. If things get better, gets drafted by the hometown Steelers. He's going to continue to play on Heinz Field. He's 2 years now cancer-free. This summer, Conner looks good. He's ready to spell Le'Veon Bell and give him those much-needed snaps off. Also in the running back room, Fitzgerald, Toussaint, Stephen Ridley back, but Conner and Bell should handle most of the carries. From one player looking for that extension to another player who was extended, Antonio Brown, extended last June. Obviously top 3 receiver in the NFL. Great target for Ben. You guys know this. Moving on. Juju Smith-Schuster breakout rookie campaign. Of course everything's easier when Antonio Brown has the defense's attention. It just helped that Juju has so much talent, so expect more of the same in 2018. Steelers drafted James Washington in the second round of Oklahoma State to replace Martavis Bryant, who they shipped off to Oakland. We watched a lot of football, bet a lot on Oklahoma State with that Mason Rudolph James Washington show. Washington should be able to take over Martavis Bryant's role. Outside those big 3 usual suspects here, Darius Hayward-Bay, Eli Rogers, Justin Hunter. If you're turning on a preseason game and you don't know any of these guys out there, look for wide receiver Trey Griffey, fun name to watch, son of Ken Griffey Jr. Who knew? At tight end, Vance McDonald's going to be given every chance to start. Health has been an issue throughout his career, but Vance, when healthy, fantastic option for Ben Roethlisberger. Go back to last year, he caught 10 balls for 112 yards in that final game against the Jaguars. Shows how truly valuable he could be. Backing him up, Jesse James is back. What do you want me to say here? 40 catch, 350-yard guy every year. Dropped that ball against the Patriots, of course. We all remember that. He's there. Steelers hoping Vance McDonald is their starting tight end. Xavier Grimble also there to back both those guys up. PFF ranks the offensive line number 4. Same line that returns from last year. This group works well together. Ramon Foster's week 1 is in jeopardy with that hyperextended knee, but BJ Finney should step in. A good backup, not much drop off from Foster. Villanueva's an okay tackle. Played well with this line. Marquise Pouncey's back off a below average 2017. David DeCastro at right guard returns. He's great. Either him or Zach Martin, best right guard in the league. Next to him, Marcus Gilbert, right tackle, another above-average offensive lineman. With Big Ben smart, this line should keep pressure at a minimum and should create the holes that the ever-so-patient Le'Veon Bell needs. Year 3 with the same offensive line, ton of familiarity. When you're watching offensive line and see all 10 feet move like a choreographed dance, that's a good line. When things aren't in sync, not ideal. Steelers are great dancing partners, solid unit in 2018. Flipping the defense, Keith Butler, back as defensive coordinator. Last season, the defense started off great. They were number 4th DVOA before that tragic Ryan Shazier injury. They finished off number 9 in DVOA, and they're going to look to fill that void in 2018. Number 14 PFF ranked pass rush going into 2018. Still a very young group. TJ Watt's great in pass coverage, but like the rest of this defense, has trouble versus the run. He showed promise last year. He had a nose for the ball. Maybe not the same talent as his brother, but certainly has the motor. Opposite TJ, Bud Dupree, we saw him make an impact in the run game, but fans wondering where the sacks are, it's clearly something he needs to work on, but he is a fantastic run-stopping backer, the lone bright spot on the Steelers' run D. Interesting note, the Steelers have tinkered with the 4-3 front, having Bud Dupree as that 4th down lineman this summer. It's going to look strange for longtime Steeler fans not seeing a 3-4, but the 4-3 could be used as means to stop running backs in 2018 without Ryan Shazier. Cam Hayward was a huge bright spot on D, 88.9 grade last year, one of the best 3-4 defensive linemen in the NFL. Next to him, Stephen Tuitt, great 2017 86.1, and nose tackle Javon Hargrave averaged 78.8. Solid defensive tackle for the Steelers, a very good defensive front. Inside, Tyler Matakevich will start. They've also added John Bostic from the Colts. Drop off from Shazier clearly, but an upgrade over Sean Spence from last year. Bostic was more of a rotational guy in Indy. Got forced into a starting role. He's back in that same kind of rotational role this year. Tyler Matakevich will start. Vince Williams is also back, a below-average inside linebacker who struggled versus the run. Defensive backs going into 2018 ranked number 23 by PFF. They added Joe Hayden in 2017, a huge signing for them. Just wasn't the lockdown corner, but still serviceable. Opposite him, Artie Burns, former first-round pick in 2016. Average 2017 heading into year 3. Maybe we can expect better play. At nickelback, Mike Hilton, a former undrafted free agent. Huge bright spot for the Steelers in 2017. Passer rating against of 74.6. He graded out 83.6. Standout for a guy not expected to do much. He does well versus the run and is a great blitzing nickelback. The Steelers stole Morgan Burnett from the Packers, filling the void of free safety. He's coming off a 77.2 2017. We'll call him an upgrade. Sean Davis starting opposite of Burnett. Liked him in 2016, however 2017 a bit of a down year. Not great in coverage, another in-the-box safety. With their first-round pick, Steelers drafted Terrell Edmonds out of Virginia Tech. Didn't grade great. PFF graded him a 76.7, but this is a guy that's going to take your head off. A hard-hitting safety, ran a 4.47 40. Scary speed for a safety. Coverage skills are in question, but more of an inside-the-box tackling safety. Can outjump everyone on the field. Not likely to start right now, but the Steelers could use him in 2018. Steelers also added Marcus Allen, a free safety from Penn State, in the 5th round. Another thumper who can play that safety/linebacker hybrid on passing downs. Coverage and speed are going to be his weaknesses. Could play well, however, in that hybrid role and special teams. The over-under set at 10.5. We have the Steelers going 11-5. This offense is still loaded. Victor and Ben calling plays. The offense has all the weapons it needs. The defense is going to be the biggest question. Hopefully one of these guys can step up. But in today's NFL landscape, we're seeing teams maybe move away from defenses. The Rams just paid Todd Gurley. They just paid Brandon Cooks, while Aaron Donald's looking for his extension. We saw in the Super Bowl, the Eagles, number 5 ranked DVOA defense, couldn't force a punt, still won in a shootout. The Steelers have the offense locked down. They could finally make that jump and get back to the Super Bowl in 2018. Baltimore Ravens time. We did this last year, had the Ravens going 8-8. Ultimately, they go 9-7, but we're a pass away from 10-6, so they certainly surprised the Everyone Gets a Trophy podcast. Without much research, we'd probably say 8-8 again, but that's what we're here for. Let's get into it. Owner Steve Biscotti, absolutely adored by the fans. He had some FaceTime at the Hall of Fame ceremony this year. The crowd went wild. Overall, he's up there with Robert Kraft, Jeffrey Lurie. Baltimore loves Steve Biscotti. General Manager Ozzie Newsome, he's been chased down by Father Time, entering his final season. As an executive, he's been with the organization since 1991, after entering the league as a player in 1978. 40 years later, already a Hall of Fame player, will likely be a Hall of Fame executive one year. He helped build the 2000 Ravens defense that some consider the greatest defense of all time. Won the Super Bowl that year, another in Ray Lewis's final season in 2012. He says he'll make it a smooth transition for Eric DeCosta, who will take over for GM in 2019. DeCosta's another lifer, has been working with the Ravens since 1996, most recently serving as assistant general manager. A longtime lieutenant, he's played a hand in drafting many of the Ravens stars and has turned down several GM jobs since 2011 when owner Steve Biscotti referred to DeCosta as, quote, Ozzie Newsome's eventual successor. Ozzie in his final draft, 12 picks. He's got a solid track record predating the analytical era, has a solid system that speaks for itself. John Harbaugh returns for year 11 with the Ravens. Outside the Browns, AFC North coaches have a way of sticking around for a long time. Harbaugh, 94-66, a 59% winning percentage. He's 10-5 in the postseason, second most since he took over in 2008. He only has a single sub-500 season to his record in 2015. Last year, a play away from another postseason berth. They finished 9-7 last year, following records of 5-11 in 2015, 8-8 in 2016. Not the same kind of success we saw making the playoffs in 6 of his first 7 seasons, but he can right that ship in 2018. Offensive coordinator Marty Mornhinweg returns for year 3. The former Denver Dynamite quarterback has received his fair share of scrutiny. He's had successes in his career, quarterbacks along the names of Brett Favre, Steve Young. As a play caller in Baltimore, however, have not had the same kind of success they expected. Could be a do-or-die year for Marty. Defensive coordinator Don Wink Martindale enters his first season as defensive coordinator after Dean Pease, quote, retired. Realistically, probably pushed out. He's now the defensive coordinator of the Titans. Wink Martindale was the linebacker coach from 2012 to 2017, but it's not his first time calling plays. Back in 2010, he was the Broncos defensive coordinator, a team that finished 30th overall in DVOA, 31st in pass, 30th in rush. He's coached the greats like Ray Lewis and T. Sizzle, so perhaps he has to channel the ghosts of defensive pass to find some success in 2018. The Ravens defense finished plus 17 in the turnover margin in 2017 and plus 7 in the return touchdown margin, meaning non-offensive touchdowns. They found ways to score without the ball. Unbelievable, but certainly not stable. Last season, the Ravens 2-5 in one-score games and 0-3 in field goal games. Go back even further, over the last 2 seasons, they have 11 losses in one-score games. We've said it several times throughout the first 3 divisions. The time to win is when the quarterback is on a rookie deal, and Joe Flacco absolutely embodies this. Went 63-30 during his rookie deal, 9-4 in the postseason, and also added a Super Bowl. Since that extension, 41-41, postseason record of 1-1, quite a dramatic difference when financial resources are dedicated to the quarterback and not the pieces around them. Ravens currently number 2 in the NFL in quarterback spending, and as a result, 30th in offensive line spending, 29th in running back spending, 22nd in wide receiver spending, 27th in tight end. Unfortunately for Flacco, there's not much cheddar to go around after his check clears. He can be cut ahead of the 2019 season to save $10 million in 2019 and another $20 million in 2020, so this is very much a contract season. He's in a similar position we saw last season with Alex Smith when the Chiefs drafted Pat Mahomes in the first round. Since signing that contract extension, Joe Flacco ranks 33rd out of 34 qualifying quarterbacks in yards per attempt and 31st in passer rating. Joe needs to go downfield like we saw Alex in 2017. In 2016, we saw the Ravens throw the most in the NFL on 67% of offensive snaps. The Ravens traded up to get the 32nd overall pick and draft Lamar Jackson to perhaps set a fire. Since he was a first-round pick, he does have a 5th-year option. Very smart for a team perhaps on the cusp of turning over the reins at quarterback. Having that quarterback deal last 5 years frees up resources for the talent around them. Lamar, the former Heisman Trophy winner, could be the next Michael Vick. I'm sure you all know about him. We're not going to dive too deep into Jackson here. We could see him get some time in 2018. There have been whispers of 2 quarterbacks on the field at the same time. It does appear that Joe is fired up. We'll see how this all plays out. At running back, Alex Collins, an unbelievable 2017. Going back, he was cut by Seattle before the season started. Couldn't even get a spot on their practice squad. Ravens scoop him up on their practice squad. Finally gets the call to the main roster after week 1, and the rest is history. Finished 3rd in DVOA in rushing, trailing only Dion Lewis and Alvin Kamara. He rushed for 973 yards on only 212 carries. Do the math, 4.6 yards per carry. Had somewhat of a fumbling issue, but of course that could be worked on going into 2018. Should be another 1,000-yard running back. Very efficient in the red zone. He breaks a ton of tackles. Has that balance when he gets hit. The biggest question here, is he a one-year wonder? We've seen it before. Hopefully the Ravens found the running back of the future. Backing him up, they have Buck Allen. Allen went for 591 yards in 2017. Should be a receiving threat out of the backfield for 2018. Overall, ton of promise. Allen and Collins could make a solid 1-2 punch. The Ravens love to go out and acquire wide receivers in free agency, a recurring story for Ozzie Newsome. Flacco gets new targets every year. We go back. Steve Smith, Jeremy Maclin, Mike Wallace, TJ Who's Your Mama Hushmanzada, Anquan Bolden, Derek Mason, all previously signed as targets for Flacco. This year they add Michael Crabtree from the Raiders, John Brown from the Cardinals, and Willie Snead from the Saints. Crabtree did have a down year in 2017, but of course most of Oakland did. Oakland lets the 31-year-old walk in free agency, replace him with Jordy Nelson, so Crabtree has a chance to prove him wrong. John Brown had an amazing 1,000-yard rookie season, then he fell off with sickle cell issues and a spinal cyst. He's had to share a lot of targets in Arizona. It was tough to get on the field, but he's going to have every opportunity in Baltimore to recreate that terrific rookie season. Snead comes over from New Orleans where he made an impact. Unfortunately, he was arrested for DWI. That cost him 3 games. Then he was injured. Ultimately, the Saints moved on and the Ravens scooped him up. Should man the slot for Flacco and eventually become an 800 to 900 yard receiver. It appears they have the 1-2-3 talent for the Ravens, but I feel like we say that every year, so we shall see. They bring back Brashard Perryman, back in 2015 as a first rounder, still trying to live up to that hype. Chris Moore's also back. He's been a talented wide receiver, Joe Flacco's go-to at times, has the speed and was used in special teams, should hear his name called this year. Drafted Jaleel Scott out of New Mexico State, a big target at 6'5", and Jordan Lasley out of UCLA. Fun fact, Lasley caught that game-winning touchdown from Trojan Rosen in that epic comeback week 1 against Texas A&M. We'll never forget that. At tight ends, more draft picks, desperately trying to fill that hole. Joe Flacco loves his tight ends. They're his number one target. Ozzie knows this. He spent the 21st overall pick on Hayden Hurst out of South Carolina. Enters his rookie season at 25 years old. Has excellent hands, a great route runner, a better all-around tight end, should play all three downs. As I mentioned, they added some more pieces in the draft. Mark Andrews from Oklahoma, a pass catcher. Really won't be much in the blocking game. Other names, Nick Boyle should start. Max Williams, Vince Mayle, Darren Waller, tons of depth. You're going to see a lot of 12 personnel from the Ravens this year. The O-line's ranked number 24 by PFF. Left tackle Ronley Stanley, a former first-round pick. He's expected to lock down the blind side for the next decade, graded out 76.2. He's expected to improve in year 3. Guard Alex Lewis missed all of 2017, but going back to 2016, graded out 45.6, below average. There's a big hole at center with Matt Scurry, graded out 47.3. That needs to be improved. Right guard Marshall Yanda, 84.4. One of the best guards in the NFL. Huge upgrade getting him back. He's 33 years old in 2018, but the Ravens are going to hope to get the best from him. Next to Yanda, James Hurst, 42.4. The line's really relying on Yanda. Staley's a bright spot, but the rest could cause issues. The other side of the ball, let's talk pass rush. Terrell Suggs, graded out in 87. He's still got it. 35 years old, playing like he's 25. The only mistake he's ever made was dropping that Apple stock, even though Joe from Ballers tried to talk him out of it. On the other side, Matt Judon, 68.3. He showed signs of promise. Zadarius Smith's going to be in the rotation at 67.4. It's nice for the Ravens to have the kind of player like T-Sizzle to rely on, but it is scary given his age. There's going to be a drop-off one day. The Ravens are just hoping that drop-off is not in 2018. The interior line, loaded. Brandon Williams, 85.3. Michael Pierce, 84.2. William Henry, 80.4. Still have Brett Urban, Carl Davis, Chris Wormley. They're loaded. That's why they were number 3 in DVOA last year. Back at linebacker, CJ Mosley, one of the most underrated linebackers in the league, graded out 72.6 average, but he was voted into the top 100 players in 2008 by his peers. In addition to Mosley, Ravens have Patrick Owasso, who graded out below average, 66.5. Drafted Kenny Young from UCLA in the 4th round. We love CJ Mosley. The guys around him are lucky. They'll have holes to hit because the defensive line is so loaded. Looking at the secondary, ranked number 4 by PFF, Jimmy Smith grades out 86.2, very tall for a corner. If he's on the field, he's top of the line DB, just needs to stay healthy. Opposite him, Marlon Humphrey, 82.7, the former 2017 first rounder, looked like a first rounder, fantastic in his rookie year, should develop into a lockdown corner for the Ravens. Tavian Young back in the slot after missing 2017. Back in 2016, he graded a 79.9, tore his ACL but should return to form. They still have Brandon Carr for depth and could even start. Carr looks so much better on the Ravens than they did with the Cowboys. Certainly a resurgence here. Also added Anthony Everett in the 4th round from Alabama. Back at safety, Tony Jefferson grades out an 82.4, very solid after coming in from Arizona. And also have Eric Weddle, who graded out an 82.4. Not Eric Weddle's best grade of the year, but he should return to form. Seems like every game he was dropping interceptions, he's still a ball hawk. Look for his numbers to improve. The over-under is 8.5, so here we are. Without any research, we had him going 8-8. Defenses year to year, a lot more volatile than offense. You can go from number 13 in the league to number 18 with a snap of a finger. Whereas offense, generally more consistent year over year. Overall, still have the Ravens going 8-8. The AFC North, a lot tougher than many people think. They're going to beat up on each other, and unfortunately for the Ravens, we predict they'll miss the playoffs again. Going into the final year of the Joe Flacco era, just before it becomes the Lamar Jackson show, Ravens 8-8. Welcome to the jungle, the Cincinnati Bengals. After 5 straight years of one and done in the playoffs, followed by 2 straight losing seasons, the Bengals are back in 2018 with Marvin Lewis still at the helm. The big story one day is going to be breaking down the insane amount of blackmail Marvin Lewis has over Bengals owner Mike Brown. What a guy. He's never won a playoff game. According to multiple sources, the Bengals somehow went 12-4 in 2015. I'm trying to source that, but it looks like they were 12-4 a couple years ago. Pretty crazy, huh? We know who Marvin is. The same guy as the last 15 years. On to his staff, which has seen some turnover after Marvin played the blame game. Offensive coordinator Bill Lazor enters year 2. It's going to be his first full season as offensive coordinator. Last season, Ken Zampese was offensive coordinator. Opening day, shutout. 5 days later on Thursday Night Football, couldn't score a touchdown, only mustered 3 field goals. He was gone. Lazor took over. Lazor did have more success than Zampese. Very good in scripted plays in the first half. Good game planning in the first half, but we consistently saw halftime adjustments by the defense. Offense fizzled out. Defensive coordinator Terrell Austin comes over from Detroit, replaces Paul Gunther, who's left to go to the Raiders. Austin spent the last 4 seasons with Detroit, got off to a great start in 2014, ranked number 4 in DVOA. However, in 2015, number 16 in DVOA. In 2016, he was dead last in DVOA, and last year resurged back to number 19. He took a strong unit, fell all the way to last place before he had some redemption last year. He's going to have his work cut out in Cincinnati. We've seen this team have success in the past. You may remember Mike Zimmer. He was the defensive coordinator, making a name for himself before becoming the Vikings head coach. Fun fact, last season's offensive line coach, Paul Alexander, went to Dallas. Essentially becomes a trade because he's replaced by former offensive line coach for the Cowboys, Frank Pollock. Pollock coached there from 2015 to 2017. We know how talented that Cowboys offensive line is. Was it his coaching and technique, or was it the talent? We're going to find out quick because the Bengals line is certainly not as talented. The Red Rifle Andy Dalton's back, folk hero of 2017 for the Bills. Made a great throw to finish off 2017 to Tyler Boyd, upset the Ravens, knocked the Ravens out of playoff contention, catapult the Bills in. Bill Lazor loves the screen pass. The Bengals finished second last year, so expect Andy Dalton's completion percentage to go up. Also expect the Bengals to jump on the RPO bandwagon in 2018. The safety net of depth is gone in the quarterback room. A.J. McCarron shipped off to Buffalo. Matt Barkley and Jeff Driscoll will battle for that backup role, but like I said, no more safety net behind Andy Dalton. At running back, when speaking on talented pass-catching Giovanni Bernard, Bill Lazor said, quote, "He's not a bell cow like Joe Mixon." That's big for Joe Mixon. He was not used in 2017 as a feature back until after Jeremy Hill fell out of favor in the latter portion of the season. We love everything Joe Mixon does on the field. He has his issues off the field. They're inexcusable, but hopefully he's learned and won't be an issue moving forward. On the field, measurable comps to Ezekiel Elliott, almost identical. He can catch passes, play all 3 downs, finished last year with 626 yards on 178 carries, good for 3.5 yards per carry. But the offensive line was horrendous, and as we mentioned, Ezekiel Elliott's old offensive line coach is now working for the Bengals, so we could see an explosion from Mixon. He did shed some pounds this summer, looks the part of a feature back. I mentioned Giovanni Bernard, a very good pass catcher. The DVOA skyrockets when he catches it. In this day and age in the NFL, Gio's going to cut into Mixon's production, but they'll make a great 1-2 punch. Bengals also drafted Mark Walton out of the U, was a feature back in college, but injuries slowed him down, allowing him to fall to the 4th round for the Bengals. Solid group of running backs behind Andy Dalton. And wide receiver, surefire 1,000-yard guy, A.J. Green. Generally a quiet guy. He's not the diva type we're used to with premier wide receivers. He did make some comments last season after week 2, and with that, Zampese was gone. Haven't heard much from Green since. He's an absolute top 10 receiver in the NFL. If you don't know about A.J. Green by now, I'm not sure why you're listening to this. On the other side, however, John Ross. He's been getting the starts in the scrimmages, lightning fast. He broke the record of the combine with a 40 time of 4.22. He just didn't show up in his rookie season. He played fewer than 30 snaps in 2017. He's still struggling, caught just 1 ball of 5 targets in the first preseason game. Just goes to show that speed isn't the end-all be-all in the NFL. We see it all the time. Route running, hands, intelligence. These are all areas John Ross needs to work on in 2018. Slot receiver Tyler Boyd returns. He had a falling out with the coaching staff in 2017. Missed 3 games with an ACL sprain, a bit of a drop-off from his rookie season where he had 54 catches and 603 yards, but he's very solid receiver, showed potential before dropping off. Of course, he did finish strong, having that catch against the Ravens in Week 17. Bengals also have Alex Erickson, a decent return man. Another case of a great 2016 and a horrible 2017. He's going to look to return to that 2016 form as a threat in the return game. At tight end, huge talent for the Bengals. Tyler Eifert can't stay healthy, but he did pass a physical, looks to be healthy. He's in line to start week 1. Big time talent here. Last 3 seasons, he's tied for 6th in red zone touchdowns despite only playing in 23 of 48 games. Less than half the games played, has the 6th most red zone touchdowns. Very big target, super talented, potential top 3 tight end if he can stay healthy. Another guy on a 1-year prove-it deal. It's a contract year for Tyler Eifert. Time to show up. Tyler Kroft returns to back him up, an average backup player. We've already alluded to the offensive line. They're ranked 26 by PFF. They let go of Andrew Whitworth and Kevin Zeitler before the 2017 season, and they've missed them ever since. They tried to fix it, trading for Cordy Glenn from Buffalo. He's a big dude, 6'6", 344 pounds. Can't miss him. One of the biggest tackles in the NFL. He has missed 16 of the last 32 games. Could be an issue, but a force when he's on the field, and certainly an upgrade in 2018. Left guard Clint Boyling returns, the only consistent lineman for the Bengals, graded 75.5 in 2017. Right guard Trey Hopkins is back, 48.3. Young, not worth giving up on just yet. Over on right tackle, It's going to be Bobby Hart, who they signed from the Giants. 48.8 PFF grade. He was a guard that moved to tackle, ultimately lost his job in New York after, quote, quitting on the team. He battled an ankle injury in 2017, should start the season at right tackle. At the center position, the Bengals trade down in the draft to continue the trend of Ohio teams taking Buckeyes, drafting Billy Price out of Ohio State. A solid 83.8 college grade, PFF graded him as a third rounder. He did tear his pec at the combine on the bench press, which may have dropped his value. However, thus far through camp, he struggled snapping balls to quarterbacks under center. At Ohio State, he was a 3-year starter, but he moved from left guard to right guard and finally center. If you watched him in college, you may remember the rare times JT Barrett even took snaps from under center was in the victory formation. A lot of fumbles and mishandlings thus far in camp. Frank Pollock will have his work cut out for him to get the most out of this first-round pick. Overall, the offensive line still has its issues. The Bengals will hope Frank Pollock can come in and wave his magic wand for Andy Dalton and Joe Mixon. Overall defense, great pass rush, ranked number 10 by PFF. Have Carlos Dunlap graded on 84.3 on the edge. Michael Johnson, 75.9. Jordan Willis returns for depth. 75.6 as a rookie, should see some more snaps. Bengals took another Buckeye in Sam Hubbard in the third round. He could move inside to help with the run. He lacks refined pass rushing moves that would work for NFL tackles, but we could see him inside next to Geno. The big guy we like here, defensive end Carl Lawson, expected to remain a sub-package player in 2018. Absolute playmaker, pass rush specialist, third downs, nickel, dime situations, end of game, 2-minute drill, someone to look out for. Head coach Marvin Lewis, quote, "The biggest thing that was true for Carl at Auburn and still continues here in the NFL after his first season is that by limiting his exposure, we're going to get more production," Lewis said. He's not that big of a person, and so to go out and bang with the big guys all the time is not going to be beneficial to him. Like I said, playmaker here. They're going to reserve him for those situations that warrant a pass rusher. Not expected to see action on the first couple downs. Third down, dime, nickel, Carl Lawson. Look out. Inside, we mentioned him, Geno Atkins, an elite defensive tackle. Number 4 defensive tackle in 2017. 91.5 grade. Fantastic versus the run. Fantastic rushing the passer. Next to him, Chris Baker, big boy, 311 pounds. Grade out 68.4. He could play first and second down, but we wouldn't expect to see him on third down. Andrew Billings, still young, didn't grade out well. The Bengals defensive line, very good pass rushing, good defensive line. Youth and potential, the key here is potential. If guys can grow into their roles on D, this unit can become a strong unit. We gushed over Carl Lawson. We really like him taking on that bigger role in 2018. Linebacker, Vontaze Burfict. 3 straight years he's missed the first game of the season. This year, a 4-game PED suspension. He's missed 33 of the last 70 games due to injury or suspension, but when he's on the field, this is a great Bengals defense. You can easily see the impact he makes. He's the heart of the defense, and the guys around him play up for him. But when he's off, it's not the same Bengals defense, not that same swagger, so Burfict will be missed for those first 4 games. At middle linebacker, Preston Brown from Buffalo comes over. 60.1, not a great grade, but he's a tackling machine, led the Bills in 2017. Expect him to lead the Bengals in 2018 in tackles. Nick Vigil will start at strong side, a below average linebacker. Vincent Ray is backup, plays inside and outside. Not great, but can step in and fill that role. Another interesting draft pick, Malik Jefferson. Athletic freak in the third round. He excels in the blitz, can tackle, can make an impact if used correctly. Think Lamar Jackson on defense. A lot of raw talent that's going to need some fine tuning, but certainly someone to look out for. PFF ranks the secondary number 14th, and it's time to gush again. This time, William Jackson III. He's the next big thing at cornerback. Graded 89.2 in his de facto rookie season. Missed his real rookie season. Last year was his first year. Ben Simmons in the NFL, we'll call him. He made a huge impact. In 2 meetings versus the Steelers, when he lined up on Antonio Brown, he shut him down. Shut him down. Antonio Brown, 7 targets when covered by Jackson, 0 catches. William Jackson shuts down arguably the best wide receiver in the game. Next, Revis-type cornerback, Jackson Island could be a destination for top receivers across the league. The only criticism, the Bengals played cornerbacks to a specific side more than any other team in 2017. Because of that, offenses can scheme their best receivers away from Jackson. Hopefully, Terrell Austin allows Jackson to follow those number 1 receivers, and we can continue to gush over him all season long. Opposite William Jackson, Drake Kirkpatrick, the most penalized cornerback in 2017. There are worse options for your number 2 cornerback, but spinning off Jackson following the number 1 receivers, if Drake Kirkpatrick can stick with the number 2s, he should be fine, but number 1s are continue to have a day versus Dre and draw those penalties. At nickel, Darqueze Dennard graded out 82.8, played very good versus the run, a very solid nickel defensive back. The success of the Bengals secondary is going to hinge on how Austin schemes his players. Back at safety, 2 solid veterans, Sean Williams and George Ioka. Smart veterans who play well together. Williams graded out 79.1, Ioka 77.6, a solid safety group. Added Jesse Bates III in the draft in the second round out of Wake Forest, a very good coverage safety. Tons of young talent on defense with stars sprinkled in. If we can continue to see guys like Lawson make that jump, Jackson be dominant, this will be a fun unit to watch in 2018. The over-under set at 5. That's right around where we have them at. Projecting 5-11 in Marvin Lewis's swan song. It's been a heck of a run. Hopefully the Bengals can hand over this young core to a coach who knows what to do with it. Bengals 5-11. And finally, the Cleveland Browns. Yes, that team that went 0-16 in 2017. They made some changes in the front office, new regime. They brought in John Dorsey, formerly Kansas City Chiefs. He was their GM from 2013 to 2016. He's doing all he can to get rid of the Sashi Brown era. We're not going to get into Brown, a terrible tenure as general manager, 1-31 in 2 seasons. You can talk all you want about a 3-year plan, but it's clear it wasn't going to work out. Sashi Brown, gone. It's John Dorsey's time to shine. He was the director of college scouting back in 2010 with the Green Bay Packers. Somehow Hugh Jackson survives an 0-16 season. He's gone 1-31 in 2 years as head coach of the Browns. We heard him say last year that owner Jimmy Haslam, quote, had his back. It's never a good look when a coach is coming out saying that, not the owner. But in the end, Hugh Jackson's back, and Jimmy Haslam pinned all the Browns' losing ways on fired EVP Sashi Brown. Quote, it was the lack of real players from that regime. This is Hugh Jackson's do or die year. There's talent all over the place. We're not talking about an 0-16 roster. However, it was the youngest roster in the NFL last season with a snap-weighted average of 24.6. The Browns were 0-6 in one-score games, had a -28 turnover margin. All these factors led to a winless season. They also had issues in special teams, allowed 6 touchdowns, and only returned the favor once. Last year, Hugh said, quote, winning is my job. He then went on to play the quarterback carousel, gave up on Kaiser, went back to Kaiser. There was Hogan, there was Kessler, never committed to anyone. All 3 of those guys, gone. Former AFC North coordinators all over the staff, starting with offensive coordinator Todd Haley coming over from Pittsburgh. Reports are Hugh will continue to call plays, so Todd's expertise for the time being will be game planning 2 games versus the Steelers. Browns also had Cam Zampese as quarterback coach coming over from Cincinnati, where he coached quarterbacks for over a decade. Finally got that promotion offensive coordinator in 2016. As we mentioned on the Bengals preview, he was fired 5 games into the regular season after only putting up 9 points in the first 2 games. Good news for Browns fans, Zampese was the guy credited with developing Carson Palmer and Andy Dalton, as well as helping John Kitna post career highs in 2003. The Browns will look to Ken to get the most out of their number 1 overall pick, Baker Mayfield. On defense, Greg Williams is back for year 2, coordinating the Browns' unique scheme. More on that later. The quarterback room includes the quarterback of the future and the quarterback of the present. The Browns traded the 2018 third rounder to the Bills in exchange for Tyrod Taylor. Taylor is immediately going to help improve the -28 turnover margin we alluded to earlier because Tyrod protects the ball. League low 0.95% interception rate in 2017, and over the last 3 years, 1.29%, second only to Tom Brady. The Browns threw 28 interceptions in 2017, the most in the NFL, so Tyrod can certainly be a stopgap there. Behind Taylor, and maybe one day this year taking over, is the 2-time walk-on Heisman Trophy winning number 1 overall pick, Baker Mayfield. The world lost its mind when Mayfield was selected first. Super producer Howard loves his NFL Game Pass and watching film. Unfortunately, college only gives him the broadcast angle. From that standpoint, he was going Sam Darnold with that pick. But unlike other shows stubborn in their ways, he put in the work, he collected more information, read all the reports. They say Baker Mayfield, the real deal, and above and beyond, the best quarterback from this year's draft class. PFF, one example, gushing over the guy. Yes, he's short, but translates great to the NFL game. He's got the highest accuracy, the highest tight window accuracy, both huge in the NFL. But wait, there's more. Per the 2018 Football Outsiders Almanac Q-Base rating, you may remember that from our Bills preview where we referenced the ratings and Josh Allen being destined for failure. Different story here, as it rates Baker Mayfield as the top quarterback in this year's draft by far, and the 4th highest Q-Base rating since 1998. The guys in front of him, Phillip Rivers, Carson Palmer, Donovan McNabb. According to the Football Outsiders Almanac, Baker has a 29% chance of being elite. If he finds the field in 2018 and does not make an immediate impact, don't freak out. This staff is a bunch of Indians with no chief. It may take another year to get the right guys in charge to get the most out of Baker Mayfield. Browns signed Carlos Hyde from the 49ers. Last year, 239 carries, 940 yards. He's going to be productive in 2018, but he's competing for carries with Nick Chubb and Duke Johnson. So buyer beware in fantasy football. But we do like the Browns addition. He's a nice piece at running back. As mentioned in the second round, got Nick Chubb out of Georgia. In college, he was that hole running complement to Sony Michel. If he gets through the hole, he's a bowling ball at the next level. A physical runner, not great at catching balls, but that's what Duke Johnson's for. An elite pass-catching running back, Duke Johnson caught 75 balls for 697 yards last year. That role will continue. The Browns extended him 3 years, $15 million. The best thing Hugh Jackson did as a play caller in 2017 was throw to Duke Johnson on first and second down, a trend we saw across the NFL. Analytics point out how beneficial it is getting it back in space on early downs, as opposed to the old school logic, dumping it off as a check down on third down. This three-headed monster will complement itself, a very strong unit for the Browns in 2018. Time to gush. Josh Gordon, we fucking love him. Back on the field in a contract year. He's not in camp, but he's getting treatment. He looks unbelievable. We saw in the first episode of Hard Knocks, Josh Gordon texted Hugh Jackson, quote, "See you soon." He's in the best shape of his life. He's clean as a whistle. We're talking about a guy who in 2013 led the league with 1,600 yards in only 14 games. No one can stop him if he's healthy and clean. We're not even going to get into the years he missed. He looked great coming back last year. He adds a full offseason clean and getting back into shape. This is a contract year and the NFL's version of Last Chance U featuring Josh Gordon. Randy Moss potential here, 18.6 yards per catch in 5 starts in 2017 on a team that went without a 400-yard receiver the entire season. Get excited, Josh Gordon's going to be fun to watch and rant. In addition to Josh Gordon, the Browns send a 4th-round pick to Miami for the rights to Jarvis Landry, lock him up on a 5-year, $75.5 million contract. DVOA did not love Landry during his Dolphins stint. He was a guy who'd go over the middle, but not a guy who gained many yards after the catch. He needs that yak to be effective. Didn't run long routes in Miami, but we saw in Hard Knocks, the heart is there, he has the hands. Hopefully Hugh can grow that route tree bigger than just the drags, hitches, and slants. Brandon Coleman out, shipped him up to Buffalo. Between Gordon and Landry, also 4th-round pick Antonio Callaway making some noise in Browns camp. Maybe for the wrong reasons, had his issues with his weed. We'll see, potentially crisis averted there. 5'11", 200 pounds. He led the Gators in receiving his freshman and sophomore years before falling into trouble and then falling in the draft. We saw week 1 of preseason. Hugh Jackson played a lot more Antonio Callaway than you might think. That was the, quote, punishment for his issues. Hopefully that's his only punishment. If he can avoid suspension, a nice 3rd wide receiver for the Browns. Another wide receiver to keep an eye out for, Des Bryant. We've seen the text messages back and forth. It turns out this week he will be meeting with Cleveland, so perhaps another threat for Tyrod Taylor and or Baker Mayfield. For depth, they signed Jeff Janis from Green Bay, maybe a special teamer. Texas A&M wide receiver Damian Ratley. Rashard Higgins is back. He played slot in 2017. Not sure his role in 2018. At tight end, a super talented David Njoku entering year 2. Should see some more time. He only played in 46.9% of snaps last year. Njoku is an athletic freak. Should be primed for a breakout role in 2018. We saw his first game, had a couple touchdowns. Browns also add Darren Fells. Mostly a blocking tight end. Seth DeValve's there, below average. And Njoku, he needs to step up and be the big-time target. The offensive line ranked number 14 by PFF in 2018. Joel Bitonio, 85.2 at left guard. He's making the move outside to tackle. He says the transition's coming along and he's, quote, getting there. The Browns drafted Austin Corbett to replace him at left guard. Fun fact, Corbett and Bitonio, both out of Nevada. Nice little connection over there on the left side of the Browns offensive line. Center J.C. Tretter's back. Had a 70.5. He was down year last year. Uptick in talent. Could see him return to his Packer form before he signed with the Browns. They got Kevin Zeitler, 81.1. The loss of Joe Thomas was huge, but the Browns have done a decent job getting this unit ready for 2018. At defense, led by defensive coordinator Greg Williams, responsible for one of the strangest defensive alignments we've ever seen at safety. We'll talk about that in a minute. They entered 2018 with a number 28 pass rush according to PFF. Myles Garrett enters year 2, solid rookie year, 88.4. He's going to be an elite pass rusher. He showed it last year when he got on the field. Opposite him, Emmanuel Ogbah, only graded out of 72.6. He showed flashes at times of being a good pass rusher, but he also showed some rookie-level weaknesses. Added Chris Smith from Cincinnati, an average pass rusher who can add some depth to that rotation. Browns also drafted Chad Thomas in the 3rd round out of the U, 83.9 college grade. Carl Nassib's there to add some depth to that pass rush. More importantly, he's there in a financial advisory role. Not great, but has potential. Defensive tackle needs depth. Going inside, they need to replace Danny Shelton. He was a hell of a run-stopping defensive tackle and a big reason they were close to the top of DVOA and Rush D. They bring back Larry Ogunjobi, 79.4 in 2017, a very good rookie season. The Shelton trade may suggest they believe in Ogunjobi. He can play all 3 downs unlike Shelton. Also have Trayvon Coley, 68.9, Jamie Metters, 62.9. Not much depth at defensive tackle. We saw this week reports they're going to work out free agent Jonathan Hankins. Not much depth at defensive tackle. Hopefully he can help there. At linebacker, Jamie Collins, who last year graded out 42.1, has not been the guy he was in New England since getting traded. Inside, Joe Schobert, very good tackling middle linebacker, graded out at 68.5. Also brought in Michael Kendricks from the Eagles, a 79.9 average linebacker in 2017. Could come over to play nickel linebacker. We'll see how they use them. On the weak side linebacker, Christian Kirksley, graded out at 62. The linebacking core overall needs some work. Looking at defensive backs, PFF grades them at number 30. Now they made some moves, signed EJ Gaines from Buffalo where he graded out an 86.1. Used their number 4 overall pick to draft Denzel Ward from DBU. The only issue coming out of Ohio State is they at times struggle versus larger receivers. We'll see how he develops, but we love the pick. Also added Terrence Mitchell from Kansas City where he graded out a 63.6. Listed as the starter opposite Denzel Ward, EJ Gaines is the more talented cornerback, but it's always difficult for cornerbacks to transition from one system to the next. Go back and look at Byron Maxwell, who's great in Seattle, horrible for the Eagles. Brandon Carr lost his way in Dallas and worked out well for the Baltimore Ravens. And last year we even saw Stephon Gilmore take a few weeks to get adjusted to the New England Patriot way. At nickel, TJ Carey comes over from Oakland where he graded out an 84.3, a solid above average nickelback. Gaines could also take over the nickelback position instead of Carey. These position battles will be more clear at the end of preseason. Overall, Cleveland's cornerbacks are much better than they were last year. And moving on to safety, Jabril Peppers should play a much more natural role in the box. In that safety slash linebacker hybrid role in passing downs, what a weird rookie year. Graded out 45.8 playing the quote, angel role. Go back and watch some tape. He lined up 30 yards deep, single high safety, was completely off the screen. You go back and watch the film, the All-22 film became the All-21 film when you break down the Browns defense. Greg Williams said he had him back there as a last line of defense, behind a unit he clearly had no faith in. Demarius Randall comes over from Green Bay. If anyone's playing the angel role, maybe it should be Randall. He's better at coverage than Peppers, graded out 70.9. An average safety, more of a natural fit. Derek Kindred comes off a decent 2017, adds some depth to the position. Brian Body Calhoun last year played nickelback. He's going to be trying out safety. Graded out 74.7 last year, but he's only 5'9". Body type doesn't exactly match, so it'll be something to look out for and see exactly what Greg Williams has in mind. We'll see. The over-under set at 5. We have him going 5-11. There's going to be improved play at cornerback, no doubt. Josh Gordon comes back, will be exciting to watch. Not sure how Hugh Jackson makes it through 2019. Hard Knocks will continue to be a fun story. Maybe we'll get a fight out of these coaches in one of the meeting rooms someday. That's it for the Browns. 5-11. That's your AFC North. That wraps up the AFC North. We're halfway there. Got 4 more divisions to cover. AFC West coming soon. Once again, thank you for listening. Follow us on Twitter at Trophy Podcast. Again, couldn't do it without super producer Howard. Hit him up on Twitter at NFL_DVOA_picks. We're on iTunes. We're on Google Play, YouTube. Subscribe, like, comment, join the comment section. Once again, thanks for listening. Till next time, folks, have a day.